Here is a clip of this coming down. This is the only video footage that I know of at the moment that shows this. There was a lot of speculation as to what happened. Even the mayor showed up saying that it looked like a bomb went off. I mean, they start the clip right here where it's collapsing. It looks like there was a bit of a flash in that upper floor there. See it right there?
So as it's coming down, watch how it's shearing the whole left half of that right side tower. See that? Boom. Now it's so skinny, and now you're going to see that's why it collapses a few seconds later, where it just can't take the load. And watch what the building does as it comes down. You're going to see it's leaning a little towards us and a little towards the left. And as it starts to pancake down, you can see it doesn't quite come down exactly straight down. It's falling a little to the left. And so a lot of the debris is going to come down and splash all over the first part of the pool deck. Okay, now, as I said before, let's take a look. I'm going to rewind it back up. Remember I said follow these, keep your eye on these two white lines. And I want to show you where that is on the building, because watch, it's going to disappear. Okay, so that's it right there. Let's go take a look at the photo I have of the building here. And these are those two white stripes I just told you about, right? They got annihilated. So it got ripped right down the building, right down this line here. So everything from here over is all that was left. Just a really skinny part. It looked like a giant candy bar just sticking up in the sky there. So just this whole part was left. This whole midsection dragged all of this, it tore all of this off of the building, and this is, I believe, a shearing wall, and that's why it came off so clean. So it started right here in the middle of this one, which just happens to be right above the pool deck. Here's a bird's eye view the next morning of the pool deck, how it collapsed. And we're going to come back to this in a second, but I just wanted to point out, look, there's still water in the pool. The water's beautiful. No debris even apparently landed in the pool at all. So it was still in pretty good shape, but everything around it collapsed. Okay, so here we are on the pool deck looking from the southern wall. So this was supplied by the Miami-Dade Fire Department. The pool would be off to the right over here, just to the right of where these chairs and tables are. Now, let me point out something interesting. We're looking directly north at the rubble pile as it tumbled down onto just before the pool deck. So I guess the edge of the building would have been right back here, probably where this fireman is standing. Now, look at something interesting here. See, pictures can tell you a lot of information here. You see these columns here? You see this number 42 here? You see this number 72 and number 73? This is down in the garage. So the plaza, the whole pool deck here, was supposed to be up here on top of these pilings. And this deck here where these cars are parked, these 6 cars here, are supposed to be up here right where the white meets the brown. So they are now, this looks like about 5 or 6 feet down into the garage. Why didn't it fall all the way? Because these are sitting on top of cars right now. And in fact, you can see the bumps here that were sitting on top of cars. This just goes to show you. So this is space number 42. This is space number 72 and space number 73. Let's go take a look at them. So let's go back to our garage view. Remember I showed you 42 right here? That was the column we were just looking at. And then I showed you 72 and 73. It was this column right here that we were looking at. So it appears that all of this had collapsed right in this area here. We don't know the extent of it, but we do know it left piles of debris on the bottom of the ramp. Here's the ramp. Remember that entrance ramp? We showed you the video looking straight down the ramp, and we saw the pile of debris at the bottom here of the ramp. So we know for a fact then that the pool deck collapse took in all the way up, probably around in this area here. I'm going to estimate right in this area. All of this collapsed. Okay, and now here is some other really good crucial evidence. This was taken by Getty Images, and I'm assuming this was the next morning. But take a look, folks, here. Here's a great bird's eye view of the actual collapse of the pool deck. The pool is still intact right here, and you can see the shape of where the collapse was. All the way up into here and into here. Ventures over into here, and I think the break happened right here. Here's where you drive in off the street. These cars are still at street level. All of these cars here, it looks like between 6 and 8 cars, they tumbled down into the garage right below them. And that white stripe right there is the top of what should have been the garage, because down in the garage, the posts are all painted white. Okay, so here's the general cut right here. It goes right along here, and I'm willing to bet it's all the way around in this area here. Here's the entrance to the garage. This is the ramp, is probably like right around over here. The ramp ends at the 50% mark of the property, which would be right here, see? So the ramp ends like right around here, and the bottom of the ramp here is where initially we saw that video that had all of the stuff on the bottom of the floor there that was coming off the ceiling too, and then the broken pipe was there. So where is this located? Well, we know that this is spaces 72 and 73 right here. See, remember, 72 and 73, those are those two spaces right there. And remember, folks, right over here is space 78, where the pool contractor the other day saw all of that water pooled up right around here, and we still don't know why. But isn't it a coincidence that it happens to be all in this general area where the pool deck collapsed? So another thing too, you can see how this picture verifies what I said. This is the part of the building, that last part to fall, that was facing the ocean. And remember I said it was leaning towards us, towards the security camera, which was way back over here, and it fell slightly over to the left. There's your layers, and this is why I've been telling people I don't think they're going to find any more survivors. Because this is the roof here. Let's assume this was 12, the roof, and then 12, 11, 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4. So the lady who was supposedly out on her patio talking to her husband when she said she saw the pool deck collapse over here and she saw what she thought was a sinkhole, she forgot the garage was underneath there. So that's how that happened. But you can see how it almost looks like a package of bacon. Whenever you get a pancake building that collapses, it's just devastating. There really aren't many voids in there. Here is video of the sunken pool deck, and if you look on the right, you'll see the space. They're looking right into the garage where it has sunk down to that level now. Now what's interesting is look at the back wall. I mean, it sheared right off of that wall. Whatever happened here, whatever weight or whatever failure mode occurred here, it took the entire pool deck down here vertically. And what I am still struggling with is the size of these columns here. And what really bothers me, folks, here is how the pool deck at every one of these columns, it just sheared itself right down the column. These support columns are supposed to do just that, support. So why did it happen? Why did the concrete just strip itself from all of these strands of rebar that you can see on every one of these clean? I mean, I don't even see a chunk of concrete. It's as if the concrete was so maybe wet, or God knows what happened to it, that it couldn't even hang on to the rebar. But it just seemed every one of these failed in the exact same way. This right here is the hot tub, and you can see why the pool is still intact. This thing is built Fort tough. It's got good, thick, solid concrete all the way around it, so it hung in there. I believe there was a car right here. So what else can we tell by this here? And so, the rubble pile actually stopped short of the deck. So some people might be inclined to think, well, maybe the building fell and that caused the deck to collapse. No, the deck collapsed first. We have multiple witnesses, and we've already showed you that. Now, here's something interesting. Look at all the air conditioners. You notice how they're barely even damaged at all? Because this is the roof. They were on the roof, and they just rode it down. So if some people had been on the roof, I'm willing to bet they would have survived this, because it doesn't fall down at the speed of gravity. It pancakes it. You drop maybe 10 feet to the floor below you, and then it slowly, one floor at a time, does it over several seconds. And the other thing too, you're probably wondering, why is this wavy? Because it's sitting on top of the cars below. The entire garage is all the way here and all the way around the other side of the pool, all completely underneath this entire area here. And so there's a car there. You can see all of these bumps where it's sitting over the tops of cars. Okay, now looking at this picture, I wanted to point out something else to you. All of these little things keep catching my eye. Look at the size of the columns here on this building that's still standing. This is the tower that's still there. Look at the other columns over here. They look a lot skinnier, folks, and I'm questioning why. Why would these columns be bigger than all the other ones? Certainly this caught my eye, and this could be one of the reasons why this building is still standing when the other ones failed. Because look, this building is practically on top of where the pool deck collapsed. This entire area collapsed. This building is still standing. Looking just to the left of this, you can see directly into the garage down below where it collapsed, but yet the building above it is still standing just perfectly with the big columns. This shows it even better. Look at the size of all of these columns right here in the tower that survived. See, nice and beefy and meaty, and yet these guys get these little skinny toothpicks. Just like the FIU pedestrian bridge here in Miami that collapsed a few years ago. If you look over here on the right, why is diagonal member 11 right here skinny while the member on the other end of it is nice and thick? See how these others are all nice and thick, but yet this one suddenly got skinny on us, and the failure occurred right here. See, even when you look in the plans for the garage, all of these columns over here on the lower left belong to the tower that's still standing, and even right here. Why are these so much bigger and thicker than all of these support columns here on the other tower? So that one really gives me pause, folks, and I'm wondering if that's not a mistake. You know, I'm not going to rush to judgment on this, but I'm just wondering, whenever I've seen collapses that I've studied in the past, I see this kind of thing, and I always wonder, why was that member skinnier than the other one? Okay, now let's see which of the columns failed first. So, as you can tell, the whole center part of the building starts to fall first. So it's this whole part, everything from the shear wall right here all the way over to this building, and including probably 2 of the columns here, because you got to take into account this part fell, and then over here on either side of those white stripes that collapsed as well. See, it just ripped it right off of that building. So let's see which of those columns it is. All right, so as we look at the floor plan here, this is the shear wall. This is that center part that everybody says collapsed first, and I agree that this is the part that collapsed first. It also, as I showed you in the picture, took out this column here and probably some of this. So this part of the building, the right-hand side of the building, got sheared right here. And then, so we have these 5 posts. So we have these 5 columns, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay, so looking back at the overview of the entire building in the plaza, remember it's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. It's those columns that gave way first. And if you overlaid the garage floor plan on top of this, you can see which ones it appears to be. It appears to be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And you notice how it just so happens to include our good friend parking space number 78. Do you remember we were talking about that twice already? So here I've drawn my ready lips here around what I think are the first columns to collapse. And I gotta tell you folks, as an engineer, you know, I've always pointed out to you, everything has to jive from all different angles. And we've looked at the timing, we've looked at the witness accounts and everything. And even the pool contractor that said this is where he saw that pool of water. So there must have already been something going on here in this area, leaking from the ceiling. And as we saw from the tourist video that we're shooting down this way, this is where we saw the pile of everything. So this is where it all started, right here. And once these 5 critical columns go, and then the building above it starts to collapse, that's it. It's all over. Okay, so let me show you here on the video where I think all of the other people got it wrong and why. And I wish they had given us more video from the start. This isn't really at the start. This was somebody hand-holding their cell phone after it already started in front of the security screen. So watch that first section in the middle. So there it goes, right? Taking down the right section with it. But you see how it's leaving up here, this section behind it? So we know that all of the building didn't just collapse at once, even though a lot of the conspiracy theory people are coming in here telling me, oh, that was a timed explosion, it was a controlled implosion, and it was done on purpose, and blah, blah, blah. No, so it came down first. Then here you can see the second part of it is starting to drop, right? But wait, there's more, because after it drops, you see that dark shadow up top here? You're going to see something forming here, and it's going to be the third part that drops right there. Do you see that? You see this part right here? This has not yet dropped, so that looks like the far north wall of the condo. See how it's still standing there? And you can see it still has a light there on. So it's amazing that the electricity is even still working at that point. And so there it goes, and then right now, boom, you can start to see that third section drop. So everybody got it wrong. All of the people that showed it breaking off in basically this section, and then the back section, and then this section. It wasn't 3 sections, it was really 4 sections that it failed in. So these guys here from Architects Journal, I think, had the most accurate drawing of what collapsed first. Although I still think that this yellow section here and this red all collapsed at once, because I believe all of these columns gave away. And then second would be this, because it started to tear at this. And then third would be back here. And then fourth would be this section here that I just showed you a minute ago. And then last would be right over here, that skinny part of the tower that was left. So these guys were the most accurate so far. Okay, so how did it fail? Well, this is that famous engineering report from 2018 where Morabito Consultants, who we used some of their floor plans here in this video, prepared this report. They walked the property, they found things they didn't like they said all of the windows need to be replaced because numerous residents are reporting leaking. That's not going to cause a problem. They found cracks, like you see here, on some of the patios and spalling, and again, that's not going to tear down your building, but they did say these do have to be repaired, and that was actually being worked on already as part of their 40-year recertification plan. They were getting ready to start it. They were already doing stuff up on the roof. This is what I think here is leading to the root cause of our problem here. So he's talking about the whole pool deck entrance here and the waterproofing. If you look right here, he says the failed waterproofing is causing major structural damage to the concrete structural slab below these areas. Failure to replace the waterproofing in the near future will cause the extent of the concrete deterioration to expand exponentially. That is the key word right there, folks. Exponentially. From 2018. Here we are 3 years later, and it has already expanded exponentially because they never got around to fixing it. And so they listed all of the stuff that's got to be done here. They also said there was a major error in the design by the architects originally. The reinforced concrete slab, which is underneath the deck there, it is not sloped to drain. The water sits on the waterproofing until it evaporates. This is a major error in the development of the original contract documents. Here's something else that makes me suspicious. Here's before the building collapsed. I got this from the MLS system for apartment rental in the building. But look at all the water that's pooled up here on the deck on a day where it's not raining and the rest of the deck isn't exactly wet either. Why are there these random collections of water here? And what that says to me is that the liner underneath, because the concrete substrate underneath all of these bricks is flat and not sloped to get rid of the water, I think the water collects up in between the cracks of all of these pavers whenever it rains, and it just sits there until it can dry. And that would add a lot of weight onto this pool deck. See, as part of the design, the engineering company wanted to add sloping all over the place there on that deck. That would help drain the water better. So my theory is that we had a lot of water intrusion on the pool deck that eventually got down to the non-sloped concrete reinforcement structure below, which eventually soaked up water and got the rebar all rusty and caused spalling all over the place, and eventually it caused the collapse of the pool deck, which pulled down 5 columns with it and caused the collapse of the entire building. We will show you more engineering diagrams on the next video, so make sure you watch these other 2 videos here that we've already uploaded on it, and we'll see you on the next one.